Well, hello, school counselors and school counselors to be. Thank you guys so much for coming to my channel, The Inspiring School Counselor. And as you can already tell from the title below, we're going to be getting into just things not to do when you are dealing with a suicidal student and or a student that is dealing with suicidal ideation. So I'm really looking forward to getting into this topic with you guys. This is actually a part 2 from a video that I've already posted on just how I deal with a suicidal student as a school counselor. So if you have not watched that, I'll go ahead and put that link above. And also I'll put it down in the description below so that you can go back and watch that. And then you can come back to this video or even watch it after this video. So I don't want to prolong the time anymore. So let's go ahead and get right into it. If you have not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. And also make sure you hit that notification bell so that you can be notified every time I upload a video. All right, you guys, let's get into this topic. So these things are not going to be mentioned in any specific order, but if you have anything that you can add to this list, please put that down in the comments below, because like I always say, I would love to read them, as well as others I'm pretty sure would love to read them as well. One of the first things that I do want to mention, and this is just going to help the process and when you're dealing with a student that is coming to you, that's letting you know that they are wanting to commit suicide or they're having thoughts that they want to kill themselves, with you giving them this prior knowledge, they already know what they are getting into when they're coming to you. So there are 3 things that you're going to want to express to that student when they come into your office, whether you have it written down on a board or on a poster, or you telling them verbally, or even all 3. And that's letting them know that there are only 3 reasons why you would have to break confidentiality as a counselor. And that is, with those 3 things, that's the only reason why you would have to breach confidentiality and seek out help from an outside source. So in that, you can also take that opportunity to let that student know is that your main priority is to look out for their safety and also the safety of others, and just making sure that they get the help that they need. So I truly believe in you telling that student that, then when they come to your office, they can't say, well, you never let me know this, and I thought when I come to your office it's always confidential. You are always able to just direct them to, hey, this is what I have here. These are the only reasons why I would have to break confidentiality. And that can just give also a conversation piece between you and the student. So one of the first things that I have on my list is you don't want to sign a suicidal contract with that student that is dealing with suicidal ideation or even actively suicidal. And the reason why you don't want to do that, and that this is actually something that was stressed to me when I was in graduate school, and I totally agree with this. And for some of those that might not be aware of what that is, a suicidal contract is basically a piece of paper that you will get that student to sign, basically saying that they will not commit suicide or do anything to hurt themselves when they're out of your presence. And I feel like this is something that is just, it's no way possible that you're going to be able to regulate whether that person is going to uphold that contract or not. And you don't want to put that type of pressure on that individual that is dealing with something such as suicide. They're already going through some mental instability. And so just to put more on them to try to uphold can really make or break the individual. And so with that being said, I do not believe that having them sign a suicidal contract is beneficial in any way, shape, or form. My approach immediately when they tell me that they are wanting to commit suicide, or they're dealing with suicidal ideation, is to seek out help right then and there and not let them out of my sight. And so that is just one of the things that I have written down. And please let me know, is that something that you guys do with your students? How does that look? Put that down in the comments below and I would love to read that. So that's one of the things that I put down another thing I have listed is don't tell them that you won't tell nobody if they disclose to you that they want to commit suicide. Okay, that is a big no-no. All right, you can literally lose your license as a school counselor if you're doing something like that, if that word gets out, because that becomes a liability. That becomes, you putting yourself in a position where if anything happens to that student, everything can fall back on you. And so with that being said, you do not want to tell them that you won't disclose. In fact, this is why I also said in the beginning that you want to let them know first off, anytime that they come to your office, or even you can direct them just to read it on the board and letting them know that, hey, these are the reasons why I would have to break confidentiality, and that's only because I want to seek out you, making sure I give you the necessary help that you need, as well as others, if any other people that are in danger. And so with that being said, with you already showing them that, they have that already in the back of their head. And even if they don't, that is just something that you can always direct them to. If they come to you and say, I thought you wasn't going to tell anybody, you can say, hey, we already talked about this, and you can direct them to that, and they cannot deny that. That is another thing that I would definitely say that you do not want to tell the student, is that you will not disclose anything, because that can be a liability. And I want to go ahead and take this opportunity to just stress the importance of being a part of, I know ASCA, if you're not already a member of that organization, you need to go ahead and be a part of that membership, because they also give you a liability with that, so that if anything comes up where you might be subpoenaed to court, or a kid tries to say something, who knows, you will at least be covered through the liability insurance that they give you through the ASCA organization. Another thing that I have written down, another thing that I do want to say is you don't want to leave any students that are feeling like they want to commit suicide or dealing with thoughts by themselves. Okay, you do not want to leave them by themselves, because you want to ensure their safety. If they're at school, definitely you want to make sure you keep your eye on them, because who knows, they can grab scissors, they can grab pencils, they can try to jump off of you just don't know. And so you want to make sure that you are protecting them, and even if that means protecting them from themselves by keeping your eyes on them at all times. And so you don't want to leave them out of your sight. So if, let's just say, something comes up to where now you're with that student, but then you're called somewhere else and you have to go to that other situation, then you need to grab somebody else that you trust that is going to keep their eyes on that student to make sure that they're okay and that they are protected. But other than that, you do not want to let that student out your sight. You want to just make sure that they are, safe, and, until somebody get there that can now lead them to the help that they need. So another thing that you don't want to do is you don't want to just blow them off. If a student comes to you and tells you that they want to commit suicide, you don't want to just say, you'll be okay, go back to class, okay? Even if you feel like they're just saying that just to be saying that, you definitely want to make sure that you take that just as serious as if they are actively about to do it, because you just never know what's going to happen, and you just want to make sure that you're taking the necessary steps so that you can cover everything that you need to do, so that if anything ever happens or take place, you have all of your bases covered, and it won't leave no room for, anything to come up and say that you weren't doing your job. And so you don't want to blow them off, but you want to let the necessary individuals know what it is that this child is going through, and getting them the necessary resources that's needed to help them in whatever state that they're in. Another thing that you don't want to do, and this actually kind of goes with the don't blow them off, but it is, you don't want to give off a judgmental type of nature. when a student is coming to you, whether you believe them or not, you want to come across as nurturing, as compassionate towards them as you can, and actually showing that you really are trying to listen to them and helping them. Because we don't know the state of the individual. Even if we feel like we know the individual at the back of our hand, still yet you want to take serious what it is that they're telling you. And so you want to come to them and let them know that, look, you're not there to judge them. You're just there to hear them out, listen to them, and get them the necessary help that they need, because so many times when you're looking at young people, when they're dealing with something as serious as wanting to die, wanting to commit suicide, they can feel like they're all by themselves and that nobody cares. But you as a school counselor, not only are you someone that they can come to and not feel judged by because they don't even know you, but you're also that individual that they can, be able to come to and get the necessary help that they need, that they might not get from at home, or they might be afraid to get from when they're at home. So you don't want to give off that judgmental nature, but you want to come to them with just love and nurturing and to just guide them in the right direction. Another thing that you don't want to do is you don't want to spread their business of them being suicidal to all the faculty and staff. The whole school doesn't need to know, okay? All the 1,200 kids that go to that school does not need to know. You just want to make sure that you are protecting that student, because kids can be pretty, mean these days. And so you just want to keep that confidential. And the only way that word should get out to the whole school is if that student wants that word out and they are saying it. But you as a school counselor should protect that student, and making sure that you're only letting those individuals know that needs to know. That is the parents, that is the mobile crisis individual. If DCS has to be involved, that's DCS. That is the SRO. That is the teachers that only that student has, and making sure you express to those teachers that they don't tell no one else. And so that is something that you are going to want to just make sure that you do. And another thing that you do not want to do, you do not want to ask questions that are like roundabout questions and not getting just straight to the point. And I have actually some examples that I have written down here. But you want to be direct. Whenever you have a student that is coming to you that's dealing with thoughts of suicide, you just want to be direct with them. You don't want to ask them questions like, well, have you wished you weren't around your family? That is such a broad question. And I could even ask that and be like, well, sometimes I do wish I wasn't around my family, because sometimes they get on my nerves, right? So that's just a roundabout question. You also don't want to ask, or you don't want to say, well, you're not suicidal, are you? Okay, that can come off a little bit judgmental, and so that can really withdraw the student to where they don't really want to engage with you. Another thing that you don't want to say is, you're not thinking about harming yourself, are you? That's another judgmental way of asking them if they want to hurt themselves or commit suicide. And so that can once again cause them to withdraw. But instead, you want to be direct. Just be like, hey, have you ever thought about killing yourself? Or have you ever thought about going to sleep and never waking up again? That gives you more of a direct way of asking that student, and giving them the opportunity to tell you a yes or a no, so that you can just kind of weather where they are at with their emotions and with their mental space. So that is pretty much everything that I have, that I feel like that you should just keep in mind when you're dealing with students that are wanting to commit suicide or dealing with suicidal ideation. And overall, I just say be in the moment with that student. You don't want to give off any type of body language that says you don't care. You don't want to give off any type of judgmental attitude that says, you know what, you are just a young kid. You don't really know you're up from your down. And so I don't even know why you're in this office. You don't want to give off those type of vibes, but you just want to be just that caring, passionate, lovable, and a counselor that you are to be able to help that student through the toughest time, or maybe even one of the toughest times that they're going through in their life. And if you can add to this list in any way, shape, or form, please put that down in the comments below. I thank you guys so much for your time. And if you have not subscribed, make sure you subscribe. And also make sure you hit the notification bell so that you can be notified every time I upload a video. All right, you guys, I'll see you next time. Bye.